Hello everyone, this is Jimmy Cultist, back again with another stealth video. We may be branching out into other series in the future, but for now we're still stuck on stealth. Today we're going to be doing the Sidle, or as I used to call it as a child, the Sidle. Now, creating a Sidle is actually a little bit more complex than I originally thought, but luckily I've worked out a system. Now, what are the benefits of a Sidle exactly? Well, as one of our audience members mentioned, it does kind of make you harder to detect, because, you know, there's less of you visible. It diminishes your profile, so to speak. Now, one thing I would like to mention right off the bat is this thing is going to have to be non-collidable for this experiment. It's possible that you could create a way to make it non-collidable, or you could possibly shave off the back. The main thing is we kind of don't want it to impede our ability to, you know, stand up against the wall. So what I might try doing is shaving off the back. I think that'd be okay. Let's try that out. After all, I think mostly where he needs the collision is in the forward area anyhow, so we may still have to turn off certain aspects of it, though, because we want it to not be detectable by the fuzz, you know. The sentry. We're going to rename this block, which we copied, to Sidle. Well, we could call it detect. And we're going to be deleting everything except for this. Can pretty much keep this the same. Don't even have to change match target orientation or any of that stuff. And we're just going to be putting a bunch of, what do you call those things? Laser scopes. Laser scopes are kind of like the Dreams version of the raycast. If you're familiar with raycasts, probably somebody is. Now the exact length we're going to want to set it at, I believe, is 0.6. I've already experimented with this previously, so a lot of the busy work of, you know, grappling with it has been solved. And we're going to set it to detect scenery and nothing else. And now we're going to take one here. We're just going to go ahead and face it that direction. And we're going to take one here. Face it this way. In case you forgot how to clone things, it's L1 and R2. Just want to remind you. And lastly, we're going to turn this one forward. That's pretty good. I think we should be in a good position now. And we're going to need one of those handy-dandy little nodes. Gonna need a green one, too. So let's see now. Oh, yes. You'll go in here and you'll see this little thing here, which is called hit distance. It outputs the distance of the laser and, you know, the exact amount thereof, 0.0 currently, because it's not colliding with anything. But when it collides, it will input a value in here. And all we're going to do is take all the different values and stick them into one single node. Should be nice and peachy. And then we're going to take out a little calculator. We're going to set it to greater than. And I believe the number we're looking to input is 0.20. I've already measured these things out previously. A lot of this probably would be trial and error otherwise. 0.20 works well in terms of, you know, my experimentations. And now we're going to want to hit something and stick it in this yellow node. All the hit something outputs. Stick them in there. And I think we're just about ready. Oh, wait a minute. There's one other thing. Keyframe. Dupe it out. Now, what are these going to do? Well, basically what I intend is for when these things are detecting, they shut the other ones off. It kind of makes things smoother. The exact configuration is something you could experiment with, because it may be that there's actually a better way to do this than I'm doing, you know, currently. We're going to go ahead and connect to the power, and we're just going to shut these two off so they don't interfere. And we're going to do the same with this one up here. Tests seem to be positive as far as how the, you know, this seems to work pretty good from what I've seen. Now we're going to go to puppet logic, and we're going to take a chip and set it kind of far over to the right, because it's going to be a big chip when it's done. And we're going to call it Sidle. This is where we're going to put all of our necessary logic. I'm going to put this here. This is going to act as an input for the button that we want to use to sidle. I'm going to try L1. Again, the controls are debatable. Whether L1 would really be the best button for a sidle, you know, that's something we could talk about. But for now, I'm just going to use it as an easy example, because the controls are something you can reconfigure at any time. You could unplug this and hook R1 into here, or any button you wanted, really, and it wouldn't be that big of a deal. So, we're going to go ahead, and we're going to take this, and hook it up, excuse me, hook it up to the power of this node. By the way, if you want to close any menu quickly and easily, just press L1 and circle, and it'll close it up for you. In case you've ever wondered how to do that. Kind of helps if you're holding a wire in your hand, you know, to be able to close things without actually closing them the hard way, just clicking on them. Anyway, next, we're going to go ahead and take this little baby here, and we're going to name it Movement. And I guess we'll use this. We'll make it purple. I don't know why I color code these chips certain ways. There's no rhyme or reason to it. Purple just seems movie to me. Like something that would move. I don't know why that would be. Alright, let's pull this down. Now we're going to go ahead and put in all the festive elements, like a splitter. We also might power this on temporarily. Take out a NOT gate, just stick it in there. In the meantime, in case we need to do any experimentation. And then we're going to want another splitter. And we're going to use the control stick, which I believe is L1. That's what you use to move, and it's what we're going to use to sidle. And we're going to make it local, because it's generally good to make it local when you're doing these control-based things. and the camera's free moving. For various reasons, of course. And we're going to want the X value, because we don't want you to move backwards and forwards, only right and left. Then we're going to need what they call a combiner. And we're going to just stretch these across, plus to plus, negative to negative. I guess you could say positive to positive and negative to negative, but you know how I am. A very inconsistent fellow. And we're going to need an advanced mover. Set all these to maximum. Well, maybe you could set Y to nothing, because we're not going to need Y. And movement strength to full. Local space is going to be on. And we're just going to go ahead and turn this up a notch. Keep the arrow facing right, because that's actually the way we want it. We don't want it facing forward like we usually do. And you definitely want this ball facing upward, which is Y, so that should be good. Now that that's done, we're just going to take this little input here and stick it in X. And we'll go ahead and get Z knocked off too. For that, we're going to need a selector, because we want it to be under certain circumstances that Z is active. Basically, what I'm going to do is I want to turn Z into a constant method of propulsion that will make us stick to the wall when we're, you know, sidling. And this will perhaps create a little glitchiness. A little. But I've managed to dampen it quite a bit compared to what it usually would be. And I think it's superior to using a laser scope and a mover, which is just kind of disastrous in all the test formats, shall we say. So, a node hooked up to B, and a NOT gate hooked up to the node. That's all you need. And we're going to go over here, where we have our little calculator, and we're going to put it in the power of our wonderful selector. So basically, when this is on, we're going to be pressed against the wall, and it will only be on when a value is greater than 0.20. Now, what's the next thing we have to do? Oh yes, we are going to need a pose for our fellow here, our gentleman of merit. And like I said, this collision box is something you could experiment with. You could turn it off completely. It might cause your character to bounce away from the wall when he becomes collidable again, which may not be advantageous. I mean, an enemy could see you. Who knows what would happen, but for now we're just going to cut off the back and hope that that works well. And you want him to look kind of, you know, pressed up against the wall. It also helps to throw the neck back a bit, makes him look more shifty. I think that's a good pose. You could have him lower down, kind of like this. Might make him look a little bit more... Maybe also put his back away from the wall a bit. Arms out wider makes him look more defensive. I don't know, maybe we will pull him up a bit. Anyway, now that we've got our pose... let's go ahead and turn it on. That looks pretty good. So this will automatically be active when our logic is in place. He is kind of scooting out just a little bit, but I think that's okay. I'll tell you what I'll do. We'll just press him into the wall a little bit more to compensate. Pull his legs back a little bit. That should do nicely. Anytime you want to preview how this is going to look in gameplay, you can just press that button there. The, what is it again? R3. Basically just, you know, press in the right stick if you want to preview what things look like in play mode. Anyway. Pose, and the next one is going to be shut off. And this is going to control what kind of, you know, things we don't want active when he's sidling. One thing we don't want is these. Turn off poses. Another thing we don't want is we don't want his run speed active at all. And we can leave procedural animations on. I think those are good. I think. And we're just going to turn it on like the others. Always make sure that you have these on inside the chip, because it's a vital part of how the logic works. Now another thing we're going to want is this little thing here. Which I guess we're going to call, why would I put a Q in there? Alignment. And this is going to help us, you know, line our character up the way we want him to, facing the wall. And for this, we're going to use a gyroscope. A gyroscope is pretty good if you want the character to face a certain direction. If you put align all axes, that basically makes him face a certain direction. For now, he's just facing, you know, this way, which is his regular pose to begin with. But we're going to go ahead and stick a node in this. And I will demonstrate how the gyroscopes work in all directions. So, if you point the ball facing toward the chest, he will align himself this way, facing right from left. And you can do it again in the other direction by just pointing the ball like so, facing his back. Of course, we don't have it on. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. That'll make him face right to left. Perfect. Nothing more perfect than that. And finally, we're going to top off the bottom one, which will be simple. You just pull the ball over to his left side, and this will make him face that direction. Now, we want this to be really snappy, so we're going to up the speed on these a little bit, and by a little bit, I mean to maximum. We're going to make the speed 5, or 99999, as some might call it. Alright. Now that we've got those in place, you're probably wondering, you know, what do we do from here? Well, from here, if we've got all of our controls hooked up, we're going to go ahead to the laser scope and connect this one to that one. I've aligned them in the right positions that they'll have to be in order to properly trigger these little babies, so it's all kind of laid out perfectly. If you just follow the pattern that I set up, as far as the scopes are concerned, it should all come out nicely. But basically, when we're facing, you know, when the thing is triggered from the front, we should align to turn our back in the direction that the laser scope is turning. Now I think I've just about solved all of this. I'm going to go ahead and put this down here. And we're gonna shut it off because we don't really need it right now. And let's go ahead and give it a little test. By the way, my feet are kind of funny. I think that's because he's sitting on an edge. Something is not going correctly. The question is, if something is not going correctly, what did we do wrong? Perhaps it's left stick local, maybe? No, I don't think so. There's got to be something that we forgot, because I pretty much have followed all of the steps properly. Oh, seems to be working now. We are a little fast. Did I even shut off? Oh, wait a minute. I think I know what's wrong. We have not corrected the speed, I think. Because the speed of these is a little bit important. So let's try 1 for X, and we'll leave this at 8. Also, we're able to move. So, if you want to make it so that you can't walk away from the wall without first, releasing L1, just turn off puppet interface and that should work nicely. Well, we may be a little too slow now, because it's a snail's crawl. Let's increase this just a tiny bit. Maybe 5 is a good speed. Let's see how that looks. Oh, that's way too fast. 5... We also might turn down the dampening to 50%. See how that works. Let's do 2. Don't know why that happened. We also don't look pressed up against the wall for my liking. It looks like we're kind of hovering in front of it. And I have a funny feeling that I know the variable that's at play here. And it's probably this thing. It's probably the collision. That's why it's acting kind of funky. I don't know if I want to get rid of it entirely, though, because it does kind of help with certain things. Oops. Now we're running into an unforeseen problem here. That is not supposed to happen. So I'm going to try just turning off the collision of this thing entirely, because I have a funny feeling that it's... Oh, I know what it is now. Probably when we're facing in a different direction, this thing is colliding with the wall. Alright, we got that. Nope, it's still messed up. I have another theory. Let's try it from this side. What could possibly be going wrong with this? Everything is aligned as it should be. Maybe we do want the dampening up? Maybe our things are facing the wrong direction? No, they appear to be sound. Could be this, Gizmo. I've noticed that there's a tendency for things to not work properly. Like, occasionally this thing doesn't give the right output for reasons. Well, it seems like we're doing better. It's having some kind of... I can definitely tell it's something to do with the laser scopes. Alright, let's look in here real quick and see if there's anything at all out of sorts. Could be X-ray mode. That could be causing it. Let's try it without X-ray mode. Actually, that seems worse. Leave X-ray mode attached. Maybe it's collidable and invisible, but that wouldn't make any sense. Well, I suppose there's another possibility. Here, let's try this. Maybe it's because we're not shutting these off. In the test, this wasn't really necessary, but I don't know. Things aren't quite going the same way, so maybe we ought to do that. Might even go so far as to shut off this one opposite. Shut off all of them except for the one that's active. That might fix the problem. Yeah, let's see what that does. Also, maybe change 8 to something a little bit more conservative, like 5. That way, at least, if it glitches out, we aren't getting flipped around the room as much. Okay. I just cut out figuring out what the issue was, but I will now explain what it is that we had wrong. The only thing that is wrong is this right here. The Z speed is set to +5, when really it should be -5. I'm going to make it 8 though, because the speed wasn't the problem. It was actually just, it needs to be negative. So basically, instead of pushing up against the wall, we were pushing away from it, which is not good. And now we should hug the wall. Now, transitioning from corners is not something that you can do automatically. So I would advise just pressing the button and then releasing it. Now, of course, he found us, but that's just because we were monkeying around. You could also do something where when you're sidling, it has a similar effect to when you're sneaking. Like it dampens your footsteps a little bit. Makes it feel more sneaky. Also, the pose is kind of not so great. You could maybe even add animations if you wanted. Like if you wanted him to shuffle or look shifty while he was doing it, you know, that could be done possibly. Altogether, though, he just looks not quite right. That looks a little better. The feet are too far out, but, you know. In the general principle, though, this is how you do a sidle, and honestly, it'd be useful for more things than just stealth. It'd be useful for any kind of game, like an adventure game. You need to fit through a narrow space. Something like that. Yeah, he did see us. By the way, I'm curious. How did he see us? He's pretty sharp, I gotta say. One thing we might do... let's see if our... yeah, that probably is still showing up. This thing is probably giving us a much bigger profile, is what it is. And we're going to try turning off the collidability. We'll turn it on, and then we'll turn it off with that. But we'll see how that works. He actually doesn't seem to snap too badly. Let's check this again. Yeah. It's collidable. Well, he does have a big cutoff area, so let's maybe pull that out just a bit. Another thing I might do real quick is have this sort of have a little startup time. We may have to put this outside, but basically what I would do is have so that thing doesn't immediately become active. 0.1. We need it to kind of have a little bit of gradual. We'll set this to positional, set a timer. That might kind of make it a little bit more gradual, and we might avoid this kind of weird flip out thing that we have. It's not so bad when we attract to the wall, but when we have this weird like ooh, like that, I don't like that. I think, though, we've mostly corrected it. At corners, it gets finicky. We could try turning the slow power down. And just add a little bit of slow power up. I don't know if that would actually fix anything. It might actually make things worse. Let's see. It kind of seems to make things... It's hard to judge. It's that weird bouncy thing. I don't like that. Maybe we'll change 8 to 5. Again, maybe that will give us the sobriety that we need. That actually seems to help. Changing it to 5 really does seem to do a much better job. Well, looks like we've got our Sidle system. I'm gonna say we kind of turn awkwardly. What's our turn speed at? Or maybe it's not our turn speed at all. Turn speed is kind of low. Let's make it 255 and see if that improves things. Yeah, that's a little better. Anyway, that's pretty much all I have to say about sidling. Hopefully you found that helpful. And now let's give a little shout out to our monthly supporters on Ko-fi. That's all for now. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss another video. If you wish to support our earnest insanity, you can check the links in the description to donate or buy merch. Until next time, goodbye.